She looks down at her phone. 2:47 a.m. His last text came 6 hours ago. Just a simple good night, yet something about it felt different, colder, more distant. She's reread it 43 times, dissecting every word, every punctuation mark, desperately searching for hidden meaning in those two little words. Her chest tightens, her stomach flips, her mind spins through endless scenarios. Is he losing interest? Has he found someone else? Did she say something wrong? Do something wrong? Be something wrong? This isn't love, this is dependency. And she doesn't even realize it's taking hold. Welcome to the hidden psychology of female attraction. The neurochemical cocktail that turns otherwise rational women into obsessed addicts. The evolutionary program that makes her crave what's just out of reach. The psychological triggers that transform ordinary men into her personal drug. And understanding this isn't about manipulation, it's about clarity. Because once you grasp the science behind her desire, you uncover something fundamental about human nature itself. 1. The neurochemical addiction. How her brain hooks onto you. Her attraction to you isn't rooted in emotion, it's rooted in chemicals. And chemicals, by nature, are addictive. Let's look at the science. When a woman is drawn to a man, her brain doesn't just think differently, it rewires itself. The exact neural pathways that fire up during cocaine addiction light up when she's infatuated with you. Dopamine floods her system. Not the happiness chemical, but the wanting chemical. It's what drives her to check her phone non-stop, to obsess over your words, to fantasize about a future with you. Dopamine doesn't whisper, "I'm satisfied." It screams, "I need more." But here's the kicker: dopamine spikes, not when she gets what she wants, but when she's anticipating it. The moment before the text, the seconds before you walk into the room, the uncertainty before you finally make your move. This is why the man who gives her constant reassurance often bores her, while the man who remains just out of reach ignites. Obsession. Her brain is wired to crave uncertainty, the unpredictable, the almost but. Then comes norepinephrine, the stress hormone that makes her pulse race when she sees you, makes her hands tremble when you touch her, makes her lose her appetite and sleep when she can't stop thinking of you. Add phenylethyl, into natural amphetamine that creates butterflies, that dizzy feeling of giddiness, that intensity that makes life feel sharper when you're around. And finally, oxytocin, the bonding chemical, released during intimacy, deep conversation, or even a simple touch. It ties her to you, makes her feel safe, connected, deeply attached. But oxytocin carries a dark side. It blinds her to red flags, makes her excuse behaviors she'd normally reject, convinces her to sacrifice her needs for the relationship. Combined, these chemicals create a storm she can't control. She's not choosing to obsess, you've hijacked her neurochemistry. She's not deciding to lose herself, her brain is dragging her there. That's why she can't just move on. That's why she checks your socials at 3 a.m. That's why she analyzes your every word. She's not crazy, she's human, and human brains are wired for addiction. But here's the crucial truth. This cocktail isn't triggered by kindness, consistency, or devotion. It's triggered by uncertainty, challenge, and irregular attention. The man who is always there rarely sparks it. The man who's sometimes present, sometimes distant, he's the one who activates her circuits of obsession. And no, this isn't about being cruel, it's about understanding that attraction doesn't run on logic. Her heart doesn't desire what her head thinks she should want. The very behaviors that seem logical often kill the attraction you're trying to keep alive. 2. The evolutionary program. Why she chases the unattainable. Her craving for the hard target isn't a flaw in her design, it's a feature. Evolution doesn't care about her happiness. It cares about survival and reproduction. For thousands of years, the women who passed on their genes were the ones drawn to men with certain traits, and kindness and availability weren't at the top of that list. Strength, resources, status, protection, genetic fitness. Those were the traits that meant survival for her and her offspring. But how does she detect those qualities? Through signals, social dynamics, the way others respond to him, his calm under pressure, his refusal to tolerate disrespect, his ability to make decisions without her approval. These cues tap into what psychologists call preselection bias, the instinct to desire what others already value, to want what appears scarce, to crave what signals high worth. That's why the man surrounded by women suddenly looks more attractive. That's why the man with options always seems more desirable. That's why the man willing to lose her gains more respect than the man who her subconscious is always evaluating. Is this man high or low value? Does he have options, or is she his only one? Is he moving toward his mission, or waiting for her validation to live? Her attraction shifts depending on those answers. A man who's perceived as high value earns more investment, more emotion, more effort. A man perceived as low value gets less. And this evaluation isn't logical, it's primal. Her attraction can swing overnight based on external cues. Your promotion, your friend's respect for you, your calm response to her challenges. What men miss is this. Her craving for the unattainable isn't just about testing you. It's about maximizing her genetic legacy. If she secures the attention of a high-value man, her offspring inherit those traits. Settle for a man without options, and her genes lose their edge. That programming runs so deep it can override what she consciously wants. She might say she prefers the stable, devoted man, but her instincts pull her toward the unpredictable, high-value one. And the man who tries to win her only with devotion fights millions of years of programming. The man who keeps his independence, standards, and options works with that programming. 3. Intermittent reinforcement. Why inconsistency breeds obsession. The slot machine doesn't pay out every time, and that's exactly why people can't stop pulling the lever. The most addictive force in psychology isn't consistent reward, it's inconsistent reward. Unpredictable, irregular patterns that create obsession. Skinner's experiments showed this with pigeons, but it applies directly to women. The man who always texts back instantly, always says yes, always shows affection, he's predictable, reliable, and therefore boring. Her brain stops producing dopamine because it knows exactly what to expect. The man who sometimes replies instantly and sometimes not, sometimes showers affection and sometimes pulls away, that man keeps her brain in anticipation mode. Dopamine spikes every time he finally responds. That's why she stalks his socials, while ignoring men who are always there. That's why she analyzes his words for meaning, while taking other men's words for granted. Her brain reads inconsistency as proof of value. Unconsciously, it reasons, if he were low value, he'd always be available, always seeking my approval. The fact that he sometimes isn't must mean he has other priorities. This principle explains why the so-called bad boy is universally attractive. Not because women love being treated poorly, because he provides intermittent reinforcement, intense highs mixed with uncertainty. Her addiction isn't to the bad treatment, it's to the unpredictability, to the mystery, to the dopamine rush of not knowing what comes next. This is why long-term relationships often lose their spark. Predictability kills anticipation. The mystery fades. The chemicals stop flowing. The way to sustain attraction isn't cruelty, it's maintaining independence. Keeping your own life, your own mission, your own priorities. That natural distance creates the unpredictability her brain craves. She doesn't feel neglected, she feels intrigued. 4. The validation trap. How her self-worth latches onto your approval. She didn't just fall in love with you, she fell in love with who she became with you. This is the most dangerous trap, because often, she's not addicted to you as a man, she's addicted to the version of herself reflected in your attention. Psychologists call this reflected appraisal, the tendency to see ourselves through the eyes of those we value. When you choose her, when you pay her attention, she feels worthy, desirable, valuable. But when that attention fades, it doesn't just hurt, it threatens her entire identity. She doesn't just miss who she misses, the version of herself that only exists with you. That's why some women spiral into obsession, because without your validation, they don't just feel sad, they feel empty, worthless, invisible. This is dependency disguised as devotion. Men often confuse it with love, mistaking her desperation for genuine commitment. But it's not love, it's addiction. The woman addicted to your validation will sacrifice anything, her goals, values, even self-respect to keep it. But that type of relationship is unstable and draining for both sides. The healthiest women are those who source their self-worth from within, not solely from you. 5. Emotional investment and power. The real hierarchy of relationships. Every relationship has a pursuer and a pursued. The one who invests less holds more power. The one who invests more adapts, accommodates, and adjusts. Emotional investment is the true currency of power. When she invests more, when she thinks of you more, initiates more, bends more, she places herself beneath you in the dynamic. And paradoxically, this often makes her less attractive, not more, because need signals lower value. The more one pursues, the more the other distances.